UFC Vegas 87 has ended with some questions like what's next for these biggest winners and losers, and will Muhammad Mokaev gets the next title shot or not. Let's try to find the answer and check all the possibilities of what fights can happen after UFC Vegas 87. I'm the Indian accent guy and you are on the Fight Book. Biggie Boy withstood the storm and was able to completely exhaust Shamil Gaziev en route to a TKO victory between the third and the fourth round. Rozenstruik vs Lewis was slated for late 2023 but couldn't happen because Lewis accepted the short notice fight against Jailton Almeida. Now it makes even better sense because both have lost the potential of being a title contender ever again and just playing a role of gatekeepers. Rozenstruik is known for his technical striking while Lewis for devastating knockout ability. Both fighters possess knockout power in their hands, making for an exciting and potentially explosive matchup that could end in a highlight reel finish. A matchup between them is already generating significant interest from the fans and could potentially headline a Vegas card. Vitor Petrino found his way to a relatively one-sided win, and at 4-0 in the UFC, he is right alongside Carlos Ulberg as the other best unranked prospect at 205. Now it's time to break into the rankings, and Dominic Reyes and Dustin Jacoby are the right guys with no fight booked. Reyes is on a 4-fight losing streak, coming off a KO loss to Ryan Spann, while Jacoby is 1-3 in his last 4, coming off a decision loss to Alonzo Manifield. Although both are on their way down in the rankings, they are seasoned veterans with a lot of experience in the UFC. Fighting either opponent would provide Petrino with an opportunity to test himself against high-level competition and showcase his skills on a big stage. With the win over Alex Perez, Muhammad Mokaev has extended his UFC win streak to 6, which is now the longest active win streak in the flyweight division. This win has put him into the title contention along with Brandon Royval and Amir Albazi. Although Royval is coming off the biggest win of his career over Brandon Moreno, he is already 0-2 against the champ and got 50-45 against him just 2.5 months ago. So fans definitely are not in favor of this trilogy and want some fresh challenge for Pantoja. So if Royval does not get it, Mokaev should be the one to fight for the title rather than Albazi, as his win streak is the longest in the division with 2 of them over top 10 flyweights. On the other hand, Albazi with his 5-fight win streak is coming off a split decision over Kai Kara-France, which is still one of the biggest robberies in the UFC. However, Mokaev also did not make himself a marketable title challenger for UFC 301 because he couldn't finish Perez, which means he also needs one more to get the next title shot just like Albazi. So if he doesn't get the title shot for Brazil, UFC Saudi Arabia is in the offing where Albazi would be a perfect match for him. The beef between Mokaev and Albazi adds an extra layer of intensity to the matchup. Their personal rivalry would create a sense of animosity and make the fight more compelling for fans. So making good on the beef from their early days will give the UFC a clearer title challenger for the future. This dude Steve Erceg is just too much fun. After a knockout like that, he's going to get a decently big name. Mateusz Nicolau is coming off a knockout loss to Brandon Royval, the loss which snapped his 6-fight win streak. A win over Nicolau puts Erceg into the title picture while gives Nicolau a decent chance at restarting his own win streak. Erceg has shown his knockout power and durability while Nicolau has faced top-tier competition in the UFC, showcasing his talent on a global stage. Erceg's ability to push the pace and look for the finish contrasts with Nicolau's technical grappling and counter-striking, creating opportunities for dynamic exchanges and unpredictable outcomes. A matchup between them would be a chance for both fighters to further establish themselves as elite competitors in MMA world. Khabib Nurmagomedov retired 3.5 years ago and Alex Perez is winless for almost 4 years. Still, he is ranked among top 10. Guys who deserve the chance to snatch his spot are Tim Elliott and Tagir Ulanbekov. Elliott is 3-1 in his last 4, coming off a big win over Sumuda Erceg, and Tagir Ulanbekov is 4-1 in his UFC career, riding a 2-fight win streak, both via finish. Elliott is a veteran of the sport with a unique fighting style that could pose interesting challenges for Perez. On the other hand, Ulanbekov is an up-and-coming prospect with a strong grappling background, which could lead to an intriguing stylistic clash with Perez's well-rounded skills. Alex Perez fighting either Elliott or Ulanbekov could make sense, as both are skilled fighters in the UFC Flyweight division, and matching Perez against either of them could provide an exciting and competitive matchup for fans. Back-to-back losses are dragging Schnell down in the rankings while giving way to the up-and-coming prospects. It was his second straight loss and he could only won 1 out of his last 5 UFC fights. It's time to take a test against up-and-comer Tatsuro Taira if he deserves to stay in the rankings or not. A victory over Taira could establish him as a divisional gatekeeper, while another loss could get him kicked out of the rankings. Taira is a promising talent who has made a name for himself in original promotion in Japan and then winning 4 fights in the UFC, improving his undefeated record to 15-0. Making a matchup between them is an important stepping stone in their respective careers. Despite getting knocked down in the start of the fight, Umar did the job yet again, improving his undefeated record to 17-0. Not only he never lost a fight, the fun fact is that he never even lost a single round. He is 37-0 in those rounds in which he could not finish his opponent. Being 5-0 in the UFC and having so much hype and fan following, it's about time to get a title eliminator fight. He was scheduled to fight Cory Sandhagen in August 2023. However, Nurmagomedov withdrew from the event in mid-July due to shoulder injury. On the other hand, after losing the interim title fight to Peter, Cory Sandhagen is 3-0 against top-ranked bantamweights, and one more would be enough to make him the next title challenger after Merab Dvalishvili. Same with Umar Nurmagomedov. With the undefeated record and 5-fight win streak in the UFC, Khabib's cousin already has more fan following than many UFC champions. So he is more marketable than any other ranked bantamweight, which means with the Dana White privilege and a win over the next potential title contender in Cory Sandhagen can directly get him the next title shot. This stylistic matchup would offer fans a dynamic and unpredictable fight. Nurmagomedov's wrestling and submission game would test Sandhagen's takedown defense and ground skills, while Sandhagen's striking would challenge Nurmagomedov's ability to close the distance and implement his grappling game. A matchup between them would generate significant interest from fans, drawing attention to the fight and potentially leading to increased viewership and support for both fighters. Ideally, it can be a badass headliner for UFC Fight Night Saudi Arabia. Another fight I would love to see after UFC Vegas 87 is Ivan Zahabi versus Adrian Yanez. Zahabi, with his 4-fight win streak, has proved himself a fighter we should keep an eye on. Yanez, on the other hand, is a former ranked bantamweight with remarkable skills, currently in need of a good win to crack the rankings once again. Both Zahabi and Yanez are skilled strikers with a penchant for finishing fights on the feet. Zahabi, with his technical striking and precision, presents a challenge for any opponent, while Yanez possesses dynamic striking, knockout power, and a diverse arsenal of strikes. A matchup between them would likely result in a thrilling stand-up battle with exchanges of striking combinations and knockout attempts. This fight has a potential to be a fight of the night, and a victory for either in this matchup could propel them closer to the bantamweight rankings. And now that's all. Like the video and subscribe for more content if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next video, so till then, do whatever you want.